Victims of human trafficking. Discuss 250 words beyond vulnerable sections. Q1 In the cases of human trafficking, what are the issues faced by, during and post, rescue operations, by NGOs and state institutions that are involved in rescuing victims of human trafficking? Discuss 250 words The Indian Express background. India is a source, destination, and transit country for men, women, and children subjected to forced labor and sex trafficking. Human trafficking has become the third largest illegal industry after the arms and drugs industry, hence the need to act. Issues facing state institutions and NGOs during rescuing operations of trafficking. Process of forming a centralized databank of children who were rescued to make monitoring easy is not very effective. Maximum number of trafficked girls falls in the age bracket of 8 to 10 years according to Rescue Foundation, so procuring details about the family and having a database of information is difficult. It is found that there is a strong nexus between politicians and other powerful people in this field, so public functionaries do not help the civil society organizations in time. www.insightsinIndia.com 31 www.insightses.com Rescue operation is tough because traffickers find new ways to smuggle girls, like luring jobs by creating fake documents, multiple routes, so it becomes tough to identify and rescue. Traffickers have been trying new ways, including transporting women on tourist visas to Gulf nations to get around Indian immigration checks. They are also trying routes through neighboring countries, including Nepal, where collusion of officials with traffickers is suspected. Professional network chain of trafficking is such that victims are easily transported to the end-use point quickly, so it becomes difficult to locate them. The victims themselves will not make any hue and cry. Sometimes when they are trafficked by inducement and fraud, forced labor, slavery, in the name of law, victim is not aware that he/she is being trafficked till they reach the final point. Issues faced post-rescue. There is an apprehension that children, especially those below the age of 14 years, may be returned to child labor if they are not given access to benefits after being rescued. If they are sent back to their remote districts directly or to their parents, monitoring becomes difficult and increases chances of them being re-trafficked. Overall victim protection remains inadequate and inconsistent, and the government sometimes penalized victims through arrests for crimes committed as a result of being subjected to human trafficking. Fight against trafficking that needs to be improved is victims' access to justice. Traffickers need to know that they will be punished, which is not happening at present. Trafficked victims are brainwashed such that they don't see a brighter future post-rescue. The poor track record in post-rescue handling, like in cases where families are not ready to accept sex traffic workers, finding employment opportunities becoming the hindrance, etc. What can be done? Suggestions/way ahead. According to the Juvenile Justice Act, there is a case of direct state-to-state transfer. Through such transfers, parents and children can be made aware of benefits that they can avail of various schemes put in place to prevent child labor. If the children are transferred in coordination with the local district authorities, the parents can be made aware of these benefits to ensure the child is not sent back as child labor again. Establish and fully resource anti-human trafficking units in all districts, including by providing additional dedicated trained staff and by clarifying the mandate of encourage to use to address all forms of trafficking, including forced labor of adults and children. Cease the penalization of trafficking victims, including restrictions on their travel, increase investigations and prosecutions of officials allegedly complicit in trafficking, and convict and punish those found guilty. Improve central and state government implementation of protection programs and compensation schemes to ensure trafficking victims receive benefits, release certificates, and rehabilitation funds. Develop and implement standard operating procedures sought to harmonize victim identification and repatriation, and the prosecution of suspected traffickers when trafficking crimes cross state lines. Shelter homes need to upgrade to protect children and provide necessary services to them. Q2 The Triple Tail-Up Bill is a classic example of executive legislative judicial collaboration towards ensuring social justice. Critically comment 250 words. The Indian Express background. Triple tail-up has been an issue affecting Indian Muslim women since a long time. In the recent SC judgment that made this practice unconstitutional, bringing the sense of relief to make Muslim women Acting on this, the government introduced the bill in the Parliament to take action on this practice. www.insightsanindia.com 32 www.insightsays.com. How is it a collaboration? At first glance, these developments come across as a classic example of collaboration between the branches of government. The Supreme Court made a decision, the government conceptualized a bill to reinforce the court's decision, and Parliament is now in the process of enacting that bill into law. Similarly, the passing of the bill in Lok Sabha shows the executive and legislature willingness in acting on the sensitive issue and the SC judgment. How the collaboration fails after the above-mentioned points, however, this narrative collapses when the issue is considered more closely, as the bill is at odds with the very judgment that it purports to reinforce. The statement of objects and reasons accompanying the bill indicates that it is meant to give effect to the court's judgment, which it claims had failed to produce any deterrent effect in reducing the practice of triple tala across the country, shows there was no effective collaboration. To speak of illegal divorce as the statement does, is therefore a contradiction in terms. Triple tala is simply not a divorce in the first place. The criminalization of triple tala with a penalty of imprisonment of up to 3 years also undercuts one of the important effects of the Supreme Court's judgment. Until the judgment, there was an asymmetry between the authority conferred upon the words of a Muslim man as opposed to a Muslim woman. By indicating that Muslim men lacked the power to divorce their wives through triple tala, the court diminished that asymmetry. The victim of triple tala is entitled to subsistence allowance and custody of minor children. The question of custody or allowance does not arise where a couple remains married. This again goes against the basic purpose of court's judgment. One of the significant questions that arose before the court was whether it would be appropriate to defer to Parliament on this issue. While the 2 judges in the minority favored imposing a 6-month injunction to enable Parliament to enact legislation on the subject, the judges in the majority specifically chose not to do so. In future, there is an even chance that the court may decide that the law criminalizing the use of 3 words violates the right to equality under the Constitution.